Okay, thank you, Phil. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I'm Jie, and this is my colleague, Jiashi. We are honored to be here to share some of our experiences of using generative AI to enhance student engagement with feedback. Let me start with a question. How often do your students act upon your feedback? So in our school, when students submit writing coursework, we as EAP teachers normally will give feedback on their first drafts, and then they are expected to revise their work and submit again. But here's something I assume many of you may have also noticed, that sometimes students just ignore our feedback, or they change some of it and ignore the rest. And later in their studies, they just keep on repeating the same mistakes. And that's why Josh and I have been exploring whether generative AI what it can do here to make feedback more interactive and effective. So our presentation will be divided into 4 parts. I will introduce the background first and share a case study that we've done with using generative AI to enhance student engagement with teacher feedback. And since we did a research on this last year, so we will also share with you some of our key findings. And then Jiashi will talk about another case, which is using the customized generative AI to automatically generate feedback. And she will also share with us some concerns from both teachers and students, together with some of our suggestions. So can I make it smaller? Okay, so formative feedback is a cornerstone of effective teaching and learning, and its importance has been widely recognized. As Briggs and Tan 2011 put it, formative feedback operates both to improve the learning of individual students and to improve the teaching itself. And the effectiveness of different teaching methods is directly related to their ability to provide formative feedback. At the heart of formative feedback is a simple yet powerful process: error detection and then error correction. So as teachers, we can identify the errors, but it's students who need to take actions and correct them. So which makes student engagement in the feedback process very crucial. While many scholars may define engagement in different ways, one widely accepted framework sees it as a multidimensional concept, so involving cognitive engagement, behavioral engagement, affective engagement. So cognitive engagement normally refers to recognizing, understanding, teaching errors, while behavior is the visible revision stages and strategies and learning approaches, while affective engagement is the attitude of students towards and perceived usefulness of the teacher feedback. So despite our best efforts, getting students to fully engage with feedback remains a significant concern. Too often, students either fail to act on feedback, or they may consistently repeat the same error in subsequent tasks. So there are some key barriers according to previous studies. One is the learning goals and beliefs. So this may significantly influence their engagement with written corrective feedback. And secondly, language proficiency. For students with lower language proficiency, understanding feedback can be really difficult, particularly if it's filled with complex language and unfamiliar terms. And then also, thirdly, feedback literacy, which means the ability to comprehend and act upon feedback. So students with limited feedback literacy, they tend to invest less efforts in processing feedback. and they may lack effective strategies to act on feedback. And furthermore, misunderstanding the difference between formative and summative assessment may result in students' misunderstanding of the purpose and potential benefits of feedback. So how can we bridge this gap and support students in making better use of feedback? Well, generative AI seems to be a promising solution. Its key advantages may include real-time interaction feedback, personalized language instructions, an extensive knowledge base, natural language processing capabilities, and the ability to generate human-like responses. So with these advantages, generative AI holds the potential to enhance feedback engagement across all three dimensions by creating tailored examples to clarify feedback, simplifying complex language through translation and paraphrasing, providing deeper explanation for difficult concepts and teaching comments, and also assisting with grading and assessments to track progress. So recognizing these advantages, the first case we would like to share today explores the integration of generative AI tools to address the barriers of feedback engagement within our EAP modules. Let me first share with you some context of our case. So Jiashi and we both teach EAP, and I teach year 2 EAP for business students, and Josh teaches year 1 advanced EAP. So our participants or students are mostly Chinese students with very few international students, and the language proficiency level are CEFR B2 to B2+. And the vast majority of participants, they may already have some degree of familiarity with generative AI, although of different levels. So in our EAP class, we ask students to writing coursework. And for this case, we are sharing today, they are tasked with year 1 student. They need to write a 1,000-word discursive essay on the topic of work placement, dress code, based on 8 provided sources. And for year 2 students, they were required to write a 300-word argumentative essay on leadership, and we provide them with 2 sources. So after they've done their essay, normally the normal practice is that we will provide them with feedback checklist. So these checklists are designed in a way that aligns with the marking criteria and task requirements. And we highlight areas where improvement is needed without providing explicit solutions. So you can see here, for example, we will include task requirements in detail, and we also include items about different sections of the essay, for example, introduction part, body paragraph part. So this is basically what it looks like in a checklist. And our objective is to try to enhance student engagement with our feedback through the use of AI. And there are multiple AI tools that we can explore. For example, ChatGPT, Kimi, and DeepSeek even, right? But in our classes, we use the Xipu AI, which is a university-funded AI platform with a similar function of ChatGPT. This is a screenshot of Xipu AI. We use this mostly because every student in our university have access to this, and it's free. So that's why we choose this one. And we conducted this in a 100-minute EAP lesson, and the procedure is mainly divided into 3 stages. So before class and in class. So now I'm going to introduce each stage one by one. So before class, students will receive the formative feedback on their writing through a detailed checklist, as I introduced before. And we provide the checklist to them before class in order to encourage students to read through our feedback and try to reflect on their writing and identify areas to address. And then it also try to help students to come to class prepared to actively engage with generative AI tools to address their specific challenges. So after that, then when they come to class, we will have them to try to comprehend teacher feedback and try to revise their essay in that 100-minute session. But before that, of course, we provide them with some basic guidance on how to use Xipu AI properly. For example, we will provide some basic instructions such as how to log in, how to navigate the interface, and also try to ensure they understand some primary features of that website. We also provide training on crafting effective prompts because we all know the quality and the relevance of AI responses depends heavily on how prompts are designed. So to ensure they could effectively engage with AI, we provide them with training on how to craft structured and precise prompts. So we used the scheme proposed by Dora, which includes the six stages. For example, first, assigning a role to AI and defining the goal of prompt, providing instructions or assistance, specify application examples or content, including useful details, identifying the recipient of the text. Here is an example. So students receive teacher feedback, like some of the expressions in the essay are not academic. We demonstrated this to our students. Then you can craft a prompt, something like this, which will include, for example, your role as like year 1 college students and your specific context, like which module you are working on and what kind of task you have, and also who will read your essay and your concerns. Mostly it's your teacher's feedback, and how can AI help you? Also, you may want to provide some extra restrictions or useful details. And then by the end, you just copy and paste your paragraph here, or it can be like a sentence you want AI to provide more feedback on, so something like that. So we demonstrated this on the screen to our students. For example, if you put these prompts in, and then AI will generate something like this by correcting your mistakes. Then, of course, we didn't stop here because we want to provide more chances for students to learn more from their mistakes. So we say then you can ask AI to further highlight those informal expressions in your original paragraph. And AI actually did a quite good job here because it provides, for example, what's wrong with it. For example, nowadays, they think it's not very formal, right? It explains why it's informal. And also it provides a suggested alternative to help students better understand what can I do to correct this mistake. So after that, of course, we also encourage our students to give like their to give their specific needs to AI, and then AI can help them. But we also provided students with some sample prompts. It looks like this. So here we provided example prompts, which are paired up with the checklist items. For example, if in the checklist, is there a clear stance? And if the teacher takes no here, then student may want to ask AI to explain what lacking clear stance means here, or how can I revise this statement to make my stance clearer. So we provide some examples to students. And then it's time for students to move on and try to comprehend feedback and try to revise it with the help of AI. So here is some screenshots of demonstration of the use of Xipu AI in our case. So AI can do quite good job in providing some explanation to help students understand certain terms, like argumentative contrast. Some students may not be familiar with it. It can also provide like examples of appropriate language to help them better understand. It also does a very good job in revising language, of course, by correcting grammatical mistakes and also academic vocabulary. It can also help with revising citation. So, for example, we can ask AI to correct the citation format. But it seems that AI is like perfect, helping us, very helpful, but there's always a but. Sometimes there are also mistakes, of course. We asked AI to correct the formatting of the in-text citation, but it's actually not specifically what we requested students to do in our university, because we are using the XJTLU have a referencing style, but AI is not able to provide that specific information. It can only provide the regular Harvard referencing style. So if students just accept everything AI tell them, then there might be mistakes. So that's why after that, we also offer a reflection and feedback session to our students. So we ask the students to participate in a guided discussion to reflect on their experience with the use of Xipu AI. So we may ask them to discuss questions like which AI suggestions were most helpful, or which AI generated suggestions did you reject it and why? What challenges did you face and how did you overcome them? Things like that. So we're encouraging students to evaluate the strengths and limitations of AI tools and trying to foster a practical perspective on AI use. After that, we as teachers also offer some general teacher feedback, like comments on overall performance and trying to address some common issues observed during their revision process. So that's basically what we did. And as I mentioned, we also collected some data from them because we were trying to find out how did this process go and what their perceptions regarding this approach. So we collect data from 62 students, and 32 of them are from year 1, 30 from year 2. Most of them are Chinese with 2 internationals. We did survey, and we also had an interview for 9 students. So here I'm going to share with you some of the key findings, particularly regarding these 2 questions. Question 1 is, how do students perceive the effectiveness of this approach? And second is, how does the use of generative AI impact their cognitive, behavioral, and affective engagement? Here are the results. So we asked them, how effective do you think the use of generative AI help you understand and implement teachers' feedback? As you can see, the result is quite telling. 88.7% of students believe this approach is effective to varying extents. So, and then we also ask the students to specify which areas they find it AI most useful. So here, these are the top 3 areas students find most useful, including grammar, vocabulary, and paraphrasing. And the least helpful items are core task requirements, referencing citation, and unfamiliar terms on the checklist. We found this findings not very surprising because grammar, vocabulary, and paraphrasing are areas where AI as a large language model excels. And for core task requirements, it includes, detailed items such as word count, number of sources, So students probably do not see the need to ask AI because they can do it by themselves. And also because these items are very specific and may differ for different tasks. So AI is not able to tell follow the specific requirement. But later, Jiashi will introduce us how to make AI smarter in these areas. And probably with that approach, then students can also feel AI may do a better job in this kind of areas as well. For reference and citation, because like for year 2 students, we only require them to have 2 sources and they were not required to use the reference list. So I guess that's one possible reason they don't find it very useful. And also, according to some students, AI may delete some of the citations. So that's why I guess one of the reasons students may not find it useful. For unfamiliar terms on checklist, because we have been covering these terms again and again in our classes, so we guess, we assume students understand these terms. For the 3 dimensions, we would like to find out how does the use of AI impact these 3 dimensions engagement. And we designed 12 survey questions for each dimension. As you can see here, the first 4 questions try to assess how generative AI helps students' understanding of teachers' feedback and improves writing skills. And questions 5 to 8 tries to look at students' actions and revisions in response to this hybrid feedback. And then the last 4 questions takes a look at students' attitude towards this approach. So the engagement level was measured on 5-point scale, where 5 represents strongly agree and 1 represents strongly disagree. And for questions 6, 7, and 12, the scoring system was reversed due to their negative phrasing. So cognitive engagement, here you can see it's overall quite positive, like 75.8 students say that the use of AI enhanced my understanding of feedback provided by my teacher. More than 77 said I can better understand mistakes in my essay, and 74% said I find generative AI provides useful insights that supplement my teacher's feedback, and 75 said the use of AI helped me improve my writing skills in general. The average is 4.1. Interview results are quite similar. So from the 9 students we interviewed, all of them responded that generative AI effectively enhanced their cognitive engagement with teacher feedback. Here are some key themes from their interview results. One is AI helped reduce the cognitive load by simplifying complex feedback, by providing examples and summarizing feedback. AI also helps to break down feedback into smaller or simpler tasks, so students find it quite useful. The second key finding is that it also helps to improve attention to details. So now students can pay more attention to the detailed language mistakes. And some students also said this approach also encourages critical thinking, especially in the process of crafting prompts and also evaluating AI-generated suggestions. Behavioral engagement is also overall positive, I will say, but comparatively lower than cognitive and affective engagement. So as you can see here, 66 students said that I used AI when I didn't understand feedback provided by my teacher, and only 19% said I did nothing about teacher feedback that I could not understand, and I used AI to revise my writing and ignored teacher feedback. About 6% said I ended up making more changes to my writing, though. But interview results are much better than survey results. With students, all of the interviews agree that AI encourages them to take more actions in response to the feedback. And they find there's a shift in revision approach. For example, some said they shifted from complete rewriting their essay to more targeted revisions. And also some said they expanded revision beyond just grammar correction or correcting their citations to a more comprehensive change. Also, some students told us they became more proactive and independent with the help of AI in this process. And some said they will use multiple AI models for several rounds of changes. However, it's interesting to note that although these students all feel, well, AI is very helpful in this process, but teacher feedback is still valued. As you can see here, this question, I used AI to revise my writing and ignored teachers' feedback. More than 70% of students said they strongly disagree with it. And also in the interviews, students said they see AI more as a complementary tool instead of replacement. Here I'm quoting. Someone said AI feedback cannot replace teacher feedback. The two can complement each other, or AI helped me understand my teacher feedback better, but I still made final decisions based on what the teacher said. So last findings about effective engagement. The effective engagement, it's general, very positive with a average score of 3.95. And more than 80 students support using AI in their future assignment. Someone said, I will encourage my friends to use it, or others said, I'm going to use AI in other subjects. The overall positive perception of integrated approach. So more than 77 students said that they have an overall very positive perception on it. And AI also increased the students' confidence, with more than 75% feel more confident using AI to interpret feedback, and they're having higher satisfaction rate. And it also, according to the interviewees, it also reduced anxiety and stress. So, and most students disagree with the statement that this approach is a waste of time. Instead, many of them highlighted the time efficiency and the convenience of using generative AI. So I think overall, students received this approach quite well, I will say. Okay, that's all from my part. And now my colleague Jiashi will introduce the second case to you guys.
Okay, I will take it over from Dora. Okay, so case one was conducted when ChatGPT was first introduced like 2 years ago. However, generative AI tools are now becoming more intelligent and powerful. They can do more, possibly helping us fix some of the issues mentioned by the students surveyed or interviewed. So now I will introduce how we can customize generative AI to provide automated feedback for students on specific tasks. So I will walk you through how to create a custom AI feedback system, how to structure effective AI feedback prompts, and when and how to integrate AI feedback responsibly. So I'll start by using ChatGPT as an example, since this is the most well-known one. To create a customized AI for student feedback, we generally follow these key steps. So first, you have to sign up for ChatGPT and then click on, you can do that right now, actually. Click on Explore ChatGPT on the top left menu, and then click Create on the top right menu next to My GPTs. And after that, you have to create your prompts. Here, you have to define what ChatGPT should do and what to avoid. And after that, you have to feed ChatGPT with the latest or the most current information specific to that task, trying to create, upload knowledge sources. We all know that the database was only updated into the year 2014, right? I'm not sure whether it keeps upgrading, but clearly you have to feed it with new information. And following this, it's like creating your own AI chatbot. So you have to set some prompts for users to engage with GPT, like some welcoming words or initial prompts to get them started. Finally, you just publish it. Okay. Since it's really difficult for us to get access to ChatGPT in the mainland China, we actually rely on the school-funded generative AI tool Xipu AI introduced by Dora just now. So basically, we rely on these two functions, knowledge base and agent. So the first step is for us to upload some knowledge sources to make the customized feedback AI. So here you can see we click manage. And then for our task, we have to upload rubric, task sheet, some sample proposals, and also our XJTLU specific Harvard referencing system. And with all of the knowledge fed into the system, the system can react to students' requests. Okay, and after setting up the knowledge base, you can create agent here. However, some of you may be confused right now. So here, I would like to draw your attention to the difference between AI agent and the customized generative AI I'm referring to right now. I think even though that system is named AI agent, it doesn't do what AI agent is advertised. But clearly, I think our university is heading towards that direction. It's just the prototype. So the difference between AI agents and customized generative AI can be told from its definition. So AI agents refer to systems that performs tasks autonomously, whereas customized generative AI are more like generative models fine-tuned for specific outputs. If from this definition is still very confusing, you can check their core functions. So basically, AI agents could act by analyzing, deciding, and interacting with its users. For generative AI, its main function is to create. So to make it more vivid, you could picture it as AI agents reviewing essays, delivering feedback, tracking progress, and alerting teachers all together. It's like a system. It's like a team combining the role of writers, editors, and schedulers all together. So it can, when students who use these AI agents perform not well, this system can actually send teachers an alert. And but for customized generative AI, it's more like a specialized writer. It just generates feedback following style and the tone guidelines based on your prompts and the rubric uploaded. Technically speaking, AI agents sort of collaborate with other frameworks, whereas customized generative AI only requires prompt engineering. Okay, so back to our customized generative AI. So here we give it a name and describe its function. And this is a part for us to create or craft prompts. And you can see there are some initial prompts guiding users how to how to interact with it. You can also put a warning there. Even though I can help you identify gaps in your proposal or essays, you still have to consult your advisor or tutor or professor for final approval. Okay, and now I would like to some of the ways for us to craft effective. So here we consulted Diva et al. In 2021. So generally speaking, there are four purposes of automatic feedback. So corrective, for example, fix this citation issue. Suggestive, can you try to use synthesis to augment the credibility of your arguments? Informative, okay, this statement can reach level 5 of the rubric. Motivational, like you're on the right track. So with some revisions, your essay can be better, right? So we actually bear those 4 factors in mind when we created the prompts. So here I would like to show like this really long prompts. Basically, we have to, like Jie just introduced, we have to give it a role, like feedback giver, and the action to analyze the essay uploaded by students. And we have to set the context to set some restrictions, like you have to evaluate the uploaded essay based on our rubric in the knowledge base. And then the format we wanted, the format of the feedback we wanted to present it to our students, like including strengths, weakness, suggestions, and also it need to ask whether students have more questions. Asking questions drives the passion for learning, and responding to their questions with additional examples or explanations. Finally, always end the feedback with a positive tone to encourage and motivate our students. But last but not least, we have to instruct generative AI to use simple language, no jargons. So this is only one part of the prompt. In order to make it give like targeted feedback, we still have to give some examples. Here are some examples for good feedback we want the generative AI to come up with, and the encouraging notes we want the AI to offer to our students, as well as like the questions which wraps up the whole feedback. Do you need like more? Do you have like any questions? But this is not the end. So basically, we have to put the checklist, all of the checklist items into the prompt as well. So here is like the breakdown of the task. And actually, our university has undergone like an overhaul of the assessment to counteract the impact of ChatGPT. So no more essays. Right now, it's more like a PBL, like problem-based or project-based learning. So students have to be put into groups to collaborate with each other, and they have to identify some issues on this campus and then produce like a report or a proposal. So for this proposal, there are 5 sections. So for each section, we will set how it should be written and the core task requirements for each part. So here, after this magnificent like task, we would link this AI agent to the knowledge base we just set up, where all of the rubrics and the proposal samples or even task sheets are stored. And here is you can take a look. I actually fabricated some student work, like 1.0 and 2.0 of the proposal, and ask AI to offer some feedback. And this is the feedback generated exactly following my instructions, giving students, pointing out the strengths, suggestions, and areas for improvement for the essay uploaded. And here you can check. Still, this back to the issue identified by Dora. Still, this citation does not follow our XJTLU referencing guide. So after piloting, we have to like feed it with more specific prompts. For example, avoid using the and symbol. Instead, you have to use the and word according to our referencing guide. And here you can see these are the encouraging statements offered to students, as well as the question inviting more dialogues between this AI agent and student, our students. So after identifying this issue and further fix our prompts, this time it finally got it right. The AI agent finally got it right. So here you can see the use of this and symbol is not consistent. Replace it with and for proper citation formatting, right? And the thing, and this is the better part. It actually offers some teaching moments for our students. So for the fabricated work I put into the AI agent, you can see there's only one instance of using citations. So this AI agent provides further like instructions on the use of sources, like encouraging students to use integral and non-integral citation formats. And also it even motivates students to try synthesis. Here highlights similar challenges faced by to encourage our students to use more sources to augment the credibility of their arguments. But the thing is, you have to keep trying and fine-tuning it. But after all of these trials, it's like a stable system, and you can publish for all students to use. but it can do more. This one actually surprised me a little bit. When I asked it to offer me revised versions of the proposal statement and a whole background section, this is what it generated. So this gave me concerns because our students could skip all of the learning process and then just copy and paste this part to their document. Okay, so as you can see, if we customize AI, it could help our students realize personalized learning because they don't have to wait for our turn to offer them feedback. And also they can explore more with the instructions offered by AI. Of course, because of the dialogue nature of the AI agent, this could actually enhance students' motivation and engagement. And you may wonder, so when should we use this customized AI feedback? Actually, you can offer it to students and students can use it before teacher feedback. In this way, it actually frees us for high value feedback. We don't need to get trapped in all of the language level problems. And this also encourages students to conduct self-learning. And also students can use it after receiving teacher feedback. As teachers, we don't have too much time to go through the second or third round of their work. So this AI agent could also serve as some sort of TA to help students conduct further additional rounds of feedback. So it can extend the teacher reach. Okay, so you may wonder why would you still use teacher feedback when you have this autonomous feedback generator? This is because of our school's policy, right? It's one of which is we should respect privacy and never upload sensitive data, including students' work, without their consent. So the automated AI agent I just created could only be used to help students before and after teacher feedback instead of replacing teacher feedback once and for all. Okay, so here are some concerns from both Dora's case and my case. So first, we are very concerned about plagiarism, like the one I just demonstrated. Students could just copy and paste the revised version and skip the whole learning process. And also this one, right? ChatGPT or other generative AI tools could hallucinate sometimes by providing fake sources. And this one I have mentioned, students could skip the whole critical thinking process by copying and pasting the revised version. And even though this may free teacher for higher level feedback, it, on the other hand, increases our workload from another perspective, like the trial and the fine-tuning step I just demonstrated. We have to keep correcting AI errors once they occur. And so the need for regular testing is like the extra burden on us. And some teacher may even have some identity crisis, like if AI is so powerful, then what is my role here? Finally, right, we are also concerned about privacy issues. So student data used to train AI models with their consent. So what if some students really brilliant, then they come up with some really good research results, and then this AI thing would steal everything without their awareness? Okay. From student side, they are also very concerned, and all of these bullet points are actually from our research. So students, of course, are very concerned about whether the results are accurate or not, and also even though they are very happy with the convenience and effectiveness provided by generative AI tools, they are still very worried about their ability to learn. They think that the heavy reliance on generative AI tools may deprive them of the ability to strengthening their language proficiency further. And also they are very alert about their ideas being stolen by the large language model. Finally, some students in the interview expressed concerns about lack of relevant AI knowledge or literacy could prevent them from getting higher quality AI generated responses. Okay, so to mitigate all of the concerns, this is the framework we provided serving as solutions. So this one is adapted from Chen in Chen 2023. So there are 4 pillars in this framework. So that means we need efforts from institutions, teachers, and all together. So institutionally, we need to the university has to develop clear AI policies. So here in our language center, we have a brief document with 5 points illustrated, including no sensitive data uploads and transparency about the use of data from our side. And for students, we have to set some expectations. Like if students use AI in their work, they have to justify AI suggested changes in reflections. And in terms of data privacy issues, so it's better for the university to use self-hosted large language models where possible. For example, using on-campus servers. Hopefully this can mitigate the data privacy concerns a little bit. And pedagogically, so we have to clarify the roles assumed by AI. For example, we could ask AI to only handle mechanics like grammar structure, rubric alignment. However, it's us to check or assess higher order thinking. And also we have to scaffold students in terms of AI use. So we could use AI for like low stake tasks like peer review drafts or brainstorming some ideas for their writing. And in addition, we can teach students prompt engineering. Like actually this is what we are doing right now. For each activity, we would pair it up with like a moment to teach how to draft prompt engineering, how to draft prompts for that activity. Finally, we have to foster critical engagement by requiring students to justify AI edits. So last semester, we actually offer students some checklist, asking them to note down the reasons for them to accept or reject AI generated suggestions. And also sometimes some teachers may start with some teachers may use these activities in class to ask students to compare AI and teacher-generated comments to practice students' critical engagement. And from the technical side, so we need to fine-tune models with subject-specific rubrics, and this is something the whole university is enthusiastic about. For each department, we would establish our own AI tutors or AI agents, and for different tasks. In the language center, we are experimenting on building AI agents. For example, we have right now some of the teams in our center are working on AI agents for like some in-class tests, AI agents for like speaking exams, or AI agents for the mini Viva. And we need to limit the scope of those AI agents by like identifying as like a first draft reviewer, not final grader. And also we have to carry out iterative testing by piloting tools with sample assignments to identify gaps or bias. And we have to have teachers rate AI suggestions like monthly. But this is something the higher up is considering right now. Finally, right, so we have our piece community of practices like each week, and we recommend like workshops to train staff to audit AI feedback and integrate it into EAP or disciplinary teaching. Right now, another team is working on the AI-generated classroom activities, which can be divided into 4 parts. So the first one always begin with the task itself, and then the prompts, followed by some concerns about ethical considerations of using AI. And all of the activity books have been shared across the language center. And if teachers they are like ready to use activities. And finally, this is the one I just mentioned. We have to curate libraries of vetted prompts or rubrics for consistency. So right now we are, I think, some members in our university, in our language center, are working on the prompts, like the standard prompts for specific activities right now, like how you can use the activity for referencing, for literature reading, or for like writing revision. Okay, so that's all for my part. Hope I didn't go beyond the time limit. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll start with maybe the questions for you. And I apologize for my pronunciation. So the first question was, you'd mentioned a Coursera course, and one of the attendees was interested in knowing if you knew what the name of that course was.
2 courses.
We don't know the name of that course. It's just some literature review we conducted.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
The next question was, how do you know that learning has improved and not simply performance with students?
We actually compared the before and after versions of their writing.
Okay. Okay.
But the research actually we did mostly focused on students' perception on this hybrid approach. So the results are mostly about their perceptions. So their perceptions are mostly positive.
But we did compare their before and after like AI intervention work.
Right.
We can see an improvement in especially in language use.
But do you know that that's an improvement in their actual proficiency?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Because I was looking at some of your examples there. It was like, I think there are some great opportunities there for students to genuinely sort of facilitate better recall of these language items. But I can also see equally, it could get very fuzzy. There could be a lot of acceptance without fully understanding what it is they're doing, and kind of giving the old chestnut that we've been grappling with machine translation and AI for a while. So do you think this would translate into a sort of secure language test?
We haven't conducted that large scale a research project that lasts large scale.
Sure.
So the next question is, what is the policy on the first submission from students? Are students allowed to use AI tools? If not, how is this enforced, or how can you be assured that they're not? If AI is allowed, how do you prevent students from receiving AI-generated feedback on AI-generated work? Additionally, how do you monitor the feedback process to avoid hallucinations or incorrect information?
So we do allow students to use AI, and in our classes, we normally will tell students that you're going to have your ideas, but you're allowed to use AI to refine your language. So this is allowed. And we actually modified our marking descriptor to deal with that issue. For example, we reduced the weighting of the language section in our marking, because we assume that a lot of students may use AI to refine their language. So this is one, but there are students who are, they may use AI to directly generate a piece of work and just submit. But from what we have observed that those students who just submitted something totally generated by AI, it won't be a very good piece of work, because there are specific task requirements they need to follow, and it may not be what exactly we want. So normally those works don't receive a good mark, actually, even if we didn't say, well, this is definitely generated by AI, and then we're going to give it a low mark. We don't do that, but still to be fair, they're not good work, at least for our task.
So actually, right now we have come up with, so we have sort of downplay the role of writing a little bit in our assessments. So usually, writing will be paired up with speaking as a whole package, like the proposal I just mentioned. So it only accounts for 66%, only 6% of the overall score. However, the mini viva for that part constitutes about 24%. So students have to respond, defend all of their decisions made in that written proposal. And also we put more emphasis on some in-class tests, which altogether represent another 10 to 20% of the overall score.
Okay. So the next question I think is about what we all kind of struggle with in terms of IELTS scoring and such. Are year one students really at a B2, B2 plus, or do you think that that's maybe somewhat difficult to really ensure when they come in?
As a placement test before students admission. So in the past, we used the in-house tests, and then we pivoted to the Cambridge or Oxford online test. Right now, so do you know the latest placement test?
In-house again.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh,
anyway,
back to
so we
in-house.
divide
Mm-hmm.
students into different modules based on their
Placement
placement test.
test.
So Jiashi is teaching advanced EAP module, so that's why student scoring might be, I mean, the language proficiency
Mhm.
might be much higher than
Mhm.
like foundation or EAP.
Okay. Okay. The next question was, traditionally students would accept teacher feedback and apply it, we hoped. Whereas with AI feedback, we want them to question the feedback before applying it. Did students comment on this shift? Did they talk about how this impacted their learning? Has anyone noticed changes in student attitudes? I mean, I know this was the focus. So were there comments during your interviews, for instance, that showed changes in student attitudes towards feedback after using the Gen AI?
I mean, actually, we got this. Where is it? Like here, we asked this question, like AI to revise my writing, and ignored teacher feedback. Then you can see most students just disagree with that. And in our interviews, actually, students still appreciate teacher feedback. They feel teacher feedback is more authoritative.
But did they comment on the fact that they have to suddenly start questioning it, not automatically trusting it?
No, they're not questioning teacher feedback.
Okay.
Actually, based
No.
on, yeah, they
Is that where others did quite well? Is that is for your critical thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
they need to critically think about whether the feedback given by AI is good
Right.
enough for them to accept or not.
Right. Okay. Did they feel like that was, I guess the question is more about, did they comment on the shift and what that meant in terms of like what they were being asked to do? I think that's what they were questioning about.
Well, because it's not like a university-wide or school-wide application. We just tried these two in our modules with our students. So based on the feedback from our students, we didn't find problems like that. But I don't know if other modules or more teachers are using this, there might be other issues emerging.
I think students grow quite used to this pattern of feedback, this hybrid mode. So we usually encourage students to use AI tools to polish their language before submission. And they are quite happy about that.
And also another finding from our research that we did, I didn't include this here, but we found that the familiarity level with AI has a very strong correlation with their perception. So for students who are more familiar with AI, they find this hybrid, method very positive. But if they are with a lower familiarity level with AI, then they're not that positive.
Okay. This next question is for Jiashi. Is Xipu available to the general public in China, or do people need to be logged into your institution?
I think so.
Right, people, I think they need to be like internal staff in order to log into the system. But right now, we notice that the school is trying to promote this.
Hey, you don't know that.
it's already asking us to
Not
use
very sure about
like
that.
tokens.
I can edit this bit. It's okay.
Okay, and then unless something more has been popped into the feed, I think the last one might, oh, nope, we've got some more in there, but So one more here. Could you comment on whether students have more difficulties with the content of feedback, regardless of the language it is in, or if they have difficulties with the complexity of English used in teacher feedback? Do you know, have you collected any data on that? Does AI simplification assist here or omit anything, either data or just anecdotally? Do you think the language that the feedback is given in has an impact?
I think in our case, it should be fine because we normally use a checklist and the language provided in the checklist is quite straightforward. So I guess students normally won't find it too difficult to understand the language in the feedback itself. More about the content, they don't know how to revise it, or they don't know, well, if you say I'm not following the academic style, what does that mean? Or what can I do to make it like more academic?
So the next question is, I'm wondering if you have adapted the assessment rubrics for the writing tasks to capture students' ability to act on the feedback to improve their texts. How can you ensure that students' interaction with AI feedback helps them develop as writers and not simply improve their texts? That same, I think that another version of that same question.
As we said that for our school, we actually changed the marking descriptor from last year, right? When we start to feel that AI has been attacking us when we are assessing students. So we changed the marking system a little bit to cater to this challenge.
I think they're asking, did you add a descriptor that was specific about the student seeming to, like, being able to evaluate, criticize, and apply feedback? Do you have some way that you're evaluating that as part of the assessment?
We're not assessing students' ability to use AI.
Okay. Okay. Lots of grateful comments in the chat box, lots of gratitude for interesting presentation that is very thought-provoking and informative. So that is the end of the questions that I saw, unless there's someone who entered a question I somehow missed.
But yeah, so once again, thank you very much, Jie Zhang and Jiashi Wang, for this presentation. This has been fantastic, and for everyone who's come along. I do appreciate how difficult it is to make time for CPD sometimes. We all have so many things crowding in on our, vying for our attention. To make this time and to give up your time in the way that you have is really fantastic, and really helps our community and learn from each other. And especially as it's so late for you guys, and I appreciate you've extended your day and you've had a hard day of teaching. So we're extremely grateful for you extending your day for our benefit, and it's been fantastic. So yeah, a virtual round of applause for both of you.
Thank you.